What's up, everybody? Welcome back to DFV podcast, Dolphin Fan Voices podcast. We have not done a podcast in quite some time, so we're gonna try to get this thing back on a regular schedule. I Let me have you go ahead and everybody that's on the podcast with me tonight, go ahead and introduce yourself, so we can go ahead and get this hour started. Whenever you're ready, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Go ahead, Jay.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. What's up, bro? This is Jay. I'm a lifetime Dolphin fan. I'm happy to be back doing these things with you guys.
Hey, I'm Ron. Glad we're back doing them again too. Diehard Dolphin fan for life.
And my name is Isaiah. I am a lifelong Dolphin fan, of course. Uh, Born and raised in Miami-Dade County. Now residing in Atlanta, Georgia. There's a lot of work up here, and there's a lot to talk about, man. What do you guys want to get started tonight, man? 'Cause there's a we got the draft coming up. Um, we didn't get to talk much about the free agency. What would you guys like to jump off with this podcast at?
I'm happy to talk about whatever you want, Isaiah.
All right. You guys want to start off with the free agency? How you guys think we did in this year's free agency?
Well, if I had to grade the free agency, I got to give it a C minus. There's a couple of things that the Miami Dolphins did this offseason that I really don't understand. Um, the Amendola pick, I really didn't like. I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm not a huge fan of Amendola. Yeah, he showed up big last year in the playoffs, but come on, Tom Brady makes everybody look good. Let's just call it what it is.
Yep.
Um, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play this game. So, him doing what he did in the playoffs, I wasn't impressed. He had 2 touchdowns last year. Come on, you're talking about a guy in Devontae Parker who struggled to put up more yards than Damian Amendola. Um, so I'm not impressed with that. Albert Wilson, I like that signing because even though when you look at his stats, it's not a lot of huge production. He only had 3 touchdowns last year. I think he had close to 500 yards. So the numbers really don't blow you away, but I think he has upside. I think he's going to play a bigger role with the Miami Dolphins than he played last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. We know that the Kansas City Chiefs, when it comes down to talent, they're one of the most talented teams in the NFL with Kareem Hunt, with Travis Kelsey, and Tyreek Hill. So they got a lot of firepower, and he was just trying to fit in where he fit in, and he made some plays. So, and I like what they did with the offensive line. I like what they did with the offensive line. They give Ryan Tannehill no excuses. I think this is his best offensive line since he's been a Miami Dolphin. And which in my opinion, the offensive line wasn't as bad as people tried to make it out to be. When you're playing with 3 first-round draft pick, you're talking about in my opinion, at least a top 5 center in Mike Pouncey. I didn't think the offensive line was as bad as people tried to make it out to be, but I do think the offensive line did improve. So I give it I give it a C plus. I think we did overpay for some players.
Yep.
I think we overpaid for some players. I don't like this us bringing in 2 slot receivers.
Yep.
Because I think there are some players that been on this team that's probably not as going, who I think deserve more playing time, like the Jakeem Grant. Where
Yep.
do Jakeem Grant fit in now that we have Albert Wilson and Damian Amendola? If you ask me who I'm going to choose, I think Jakeem Grant is better than Amendola. No, he does not have the playoff experience, but Jakeem Grant, no, he does not have the playoff experience. No, he's not as clutch. I don't know if he has better hands than Amendola. I do think Amendola catch the ball better. But when you're talking about speed, when you're talking about a run after the catch, when you're talking about a guy that's being dynamic, I'm gonna go with Jakeem Grant. So I'm a little worried about how the Miami Dolphins are going to use the wide receivers now. But overall, I give it a C plus, a C plus.
All right, Ron, what you thought about the free agency, man?
I like some of what they did. I didn't like some of the things that they did because some of it was a head scratcher. But I kind of agree a little bit with Jay. Um, I thought that they gave a little bit too much money to certain guys, but hey, this is what these guys do in our front office.
Right.
But I did like bringing back William Hayes. I was kind of worried that they weren't because he got hurt last year. But when he was in, man, did he transform our run defense. I like that pickup or re-pickup or whatever. I kind of am curious at how they're going to use Albert Wilson and wondering. I know that they keep saying publicly that they support Devontae Parker, but my gut just tells me he's out.
Yeah.
And Gase doesn't quite know how to get it through to Mike because that's Mike Tannenbaum's pick in the 2015 draft because Dennis Hickey was pounding the table for Marcus Peters.
Yep. That's what I was pounding the table for.
But anyway, the Amendola signing kind of confused me, but I can kind of see. I don't think they're really looking at him to like be on the field, play a lot. I think his signing is when you look at our wide receiver core for the last couple of years, they don't have a veteran presence and somebody who's technically sound. So I think Amendola is in there to be like an extension of Adam coaching and the winning attitude. Like, well, if I bring somebody in, who are they going to look up to, or are they willing to listen to the person? You can't deny the dude's got 2 Super Bowl rings or 3.
Yeah,
and he's been around, so he's seen several different systems. So he's kind of an extension. And I thought that the wide receiver core last 2 years really hasn't been progressing. It's kind of a head scratcher because they're all talented. Landry was talented. He might not have the speed, but he was talented. Jakeem is talented. You can just see it whenever he's stuffed on the field. Carew is supposed to be talented because I've watched all of his Rutgers tape, but the dude don't get on the field. Okay. We left Kenyon Drake as a gunner and return man on the special teams, 3rd, sometimes 4th man on the depth chart at the running back position.
Right.
He didn't get no playing time. And if it hadn't have been for trading a J.J. because they got it in an argument, him and Gase, if he hadn't have got traded and both Sunrise Perry and Damian Williams hadn't have got hurt and they had no choice because literally Drake was the last guy on the roster. Right. I mean, they activated Davion Smith from the practice squad, but he didn't touch the ball except for the final game of the season, and now he's not even on the team anymore. They didn't tender him a practice squad designation, so he's a free agent. Then they let Davion Smith from Michigan that we signed as undrafted last year. He's not on the team, and I don't think they're going to bring him back.
Oh, wow.
They brought in Frank Gore, which I like, even though he's over the hill. He's going to bring that mental preparation toughness. He's going to show Drake how to be a pro. And I don't think there was anybody in that running back room last 2 years that could show these guys, like Ajayi did it on his own. Right. And then we changed all of our changes at coaching staff. I like. We brought in Studstill from Broncos. Mm-hmm. We re-brought Washburn back to coach the offensive line instead of the dude was snorting white powder off of strippers anyway. But that's neither here nor there. But I do like the changes on the coaching staff on the defense too. Auden, that defensive back, I think he's going to help bring along Tankersley, McTire, Bobby McCain, who stepped up last year, who I think is going to step up again this year. But I like bringing in Sitton, even though he's 33 and he's been in the league 11 or 10 years or so.
Right.
He's on a decline, but they didn't really overpay for him. 2 years, 16. I think that's a decent. But
Yeah.
they've overpaid for Amendola.
Yep.
And if I can't wrap my mind around his veteran presence, I don't see why they brought him in. Because we got Drew Morgan, who's an extreme slot receiver. We haven't even tried to get on the field.
Exactly.
We've got Leonte Carew in a limited exposure. He did good from the outside, inside. They even played him at H-back to block last year. He
Yep.
did good, but he don't get no time on the field. I think he deserves a chance to at least show if he can do something or not. And
Right.
it's been 2 years, and when you factor in giving up 3 picks just to get him, I mean, you're not going to give this dude a chance.
Yep.
And then we have Rayshawn Scott, always hurt, but we don't know what he can do. We got Francis Nwosu, who I thought was going to be good, but they cut him because he got hurt. There's just a lot of young guys that just don't give no chance. And we sat behind watching Parker. I think he has good potential, but I think the only thing he's going to reach it now, or way he's going to reach it now, is change of scenery, like what happened to Watkins in Buffalo. When he went to the Rams, he got to see a new coaching staff. He got to see a different way, and now he's getting paid almost $17 million from the freaking Chiefs.
Yep.
But I'm okay with the trade for Quinn, but I don't understand because now he's going to be playing the same side as Charles Harris. And before the trade, they said that they're going to make Harris the starter. Then all of a sudden, they trade for a $12 million guy.
Which makes no sense.
But overall, like getting rid of Pouncey, I was okay with, even though he was awesome in the pass blocking. But I'm with him on the run blocking. But he did make it all 16 games, and now he's going into the offseason not under rehab situations like the last 2-3 years, but he can actually work out. So I thought he could regain some of that strength, and that he would improve the running game a little bit. But I'm okay with them moving on and how fast that they went after Kilgore from the 49ers.
Yeah.
That's shocking. This front office has never moved that fast. And finding somebody who actually I don't put a lot of stock in the PFF grades,
Right.
but they had him ranked higher than Pouncey.
Yep.
But when he got a good quarterback, Kilgore was pretty trash until Jimmy G stepped on the field for the Niners. And then with that better decision making and the better pocket presence that Jimmy brought, Kilgore found his groove, and then he started really road grading people.
Right.
I watched some of his film. There's a few of those plays. He got his hands on the inside of the defensive tackle, and he just took that dude like it was WWE fucking Royal Rumble. He took his ass to the ground.
Rumble!
But so the offseason, I think they did okay. They did way better than last year. Just some of the moves were head scratchers. But I like the moves to try and finally get something of a left guard in the facility since Richie Incognito left under the Bullygate shit.
Yep.
At least we can now it opens the door. I hope they don't ruin it in the draft now. That's my worry, is that they can get into the draft and find some guys that can go in there and let Sitton teach them how to be all pro offensive linemen. I think Sitton makes a big deal on Asiata.
Right.
Because Sitton, when he was first come out, he was famous for being a nasty guy. He wasn't the most athletic, the fastest, or the best feet, but he punched you in the freaking mouth. He let you know he was there, and he did his job like a workman. And
Right.
he can, if he can get in the head of Asiata and get some of that softness out of there, and let the beast come out, I think we'll be in good shape.
Well,
but the tight end position is still hot trash, though.
Yeah, I don't understand the moves that we're making out of the tight end position at all. Now I just feel like we have 3 guys. We have Marquise Gray. We have that guy that we got from the Cowboys, and we have I forget his name. The guy
Escobar.
Yeah, we got Escobar, and then we got that other guy. that we got at like the tail end of last year.
AJ Derby.
Yeah, AJ Derby. So now we have those three guys. And I was speculating that we might end up grabbing two tight ends out of this draft. But now that's kind of up in the air um unless somebody just ends up falling to us, which is what I think happened with the Quinn situation. I don't think the Quinn situation was something that we planned, but I do think the Rams were calling around trying to trade Quinn. And when we asked what they wanted for him, the price was something that we just couldn't pass. That's how I feel. That's what happened with Quinn. But the price tag to me would have kind of scared me off, especially seeing that I spent a first round draft pick on a guy who plays the same position. But I think the way they were looking at it is that you get a guy who, what did he have, 17 sacks or something like that? I don't remember what the sack number was the last time he played defensive end. But he's a damn good pass rusher when he's put in the right situations. And then what kind of messes me up a little bit is that we turned around and got rid of Sue. I don't quite understand why you bring in Quinn and then get rid of Sue. It's like you're trying to make the defensive line strong, but then you get rid of Sue. But then again, I can understand the price tag in getting rid of some of that cap hit from Sue. Um, then of course the Jarvis Landry situation where we basically gave him up for a hot dog and some French fries. Um,
Yep.
I don't understand that at all either. I thought we should, if we weren't gonna re-sign him, I thought that we should have gotten more for him. I was thinking at least a second round draft pick. We end up getting a fourth round draft. I don't that doesn't make any sense to me. Um, with that move, and a lot of people were confused. As you know, yeah, I had my quarrels with Landry as a receiver, but I don't understand how you give up someone who has caught that many balls for you for a fourth round draft. That was retarded to me. That just wasn't good dealing. Seeing that the Patriots were able to trade Cooks for a first round draft pick, you know what I mean? That doesn't make any. And I understand the speed of Cooks; he's a number one receiver, but I just felt like we should have got more for Landry.
Well,
Um,
they got more than just a first. They got a first and a sixth.
exactly. So I mean, we just our front office, some of the trades, whether it was Ajayi or it was Landry, they got screwed out of both of those trades. I don't like either one of those trades. The Albert Wilson signing to me, I felt like we paid a little bit too much for him. I could see the potential, the size, the speed, running in the slot. I think with Stills and Wilson and Parker, those are hard matchups, especially if you get yourself a nice tight end in this draft, which I feel we will. Put those guys on the field. Like, can you imagine if we get 6'6" Gasecki to add to this lineup, and then you put Stills, Parker, and Wilson out there? That is that, and Drake coming out of the backfield. That's a pain in the ass to have to cover all of that speed at one time. That's gonna be
Yep.
that's going to be a real problem on secondaries, and it may on defenses, and it may force defenses to come out there and try to cover that with a nickel. And then I can see us running from that type of situation where you've got one less linebacker on the field, so you're running against a smaller package. I think that will be some awesome matchups that we can exploit. The Amendola, when we first signed Amendola, I was like, fuck. Why if I feel like if we're gonna get slow, we should get big. I just don't I have a real problem with small and slow. That just doesn't make any sense to me. I'll never understand that combination. But I mean, as you guys have stated, maybe it's just, it's a locker room presence. It's a guy who's been there, done that. Talk. You know, he's been with the Patriots. The Patriots. I can hate them all I want, but in the end of the day, the Patriots have been the most consistent franchise in the NFL for the last decade or so. So, and he's been in that locker room. He's been on that practice field. Maybe he's able to bring some of that locker room over. My problem is that it doesn't normally happen with Patriots players. Usually, once players leave the Patriots, their careers go down the tunnel. So we will see with that. Um, Overall, I don't have that much beef with the off season. Oh yeah, and then we added Sitting. Last year it would have been crazy if instead of adding Grant, we were able to add that other guard from Cleveland. Forget his name. We could have had both of
Oh,
those guys.
you mean from Cincinnati, the Zeitler?
Yeah, imagine if we had Zeitler and this guy. Well, we probably wouldn't have grabbed them both, but I'm just saying, like instead of re-signing Branch to that monster contract we gave him, if we got both of those guys, and then it would have given us some flexibility, more flexibility than we have with James now. We probably could have slid Davis out and definitely got rid of James instead of having what we have now. It would have made us that much better. But I'm ready for this draft. I'm ready for this draft, and I hope I'm not crying after this draft is over with. What do you guys if you were the GM, if you were the person making the call for number 11 2018 NFL draft, give me your first three picks. Who's the first three guys that you would pick if they were available at 11?
For
For
me,
me,
non-quarterback
Right.
would
would
be
be
number one, Derwin James.
Right.
Number two, Minka Fitzpatrick. And number three, Tremaine Edmonds.
Right.
Now, if I was tossing in the quarterbacks,
Uh-huh.
the only two that I would want or would even consider, and I'm going to say this word, and I know what it means, wasting a first round pick on a quarterback. The only ones that I would waste a first round on in this order: Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson.
Absolutely.
And the only way I take those two guys
Mhm.
is if Derwin James is already gone and Minka Fitzpatrick's gone. Because if I'm picking between a linebacker and a potential first round quarterback, I'll take the quarterback, because even if Ryan Tannehill doesn't go down and he is playing and we win with him, I think the presence of the one of those two guys would make sure that he does see whatever this potential we keep hearing for the last 7 years
Right.
will finally come out. And if it don't, at least we now have an option in 2020 when his contract is up. We get to look at it and go, okay, we had 2 years of this rookie, and we had, what is it, 10 or 9 years with Brian Tannehill. And now if they both look good, now in 2020 offseason, we can go, we'll send Tannehill for a first and a second, and now we got draft ammo in 2020. Or Tannehill flames out like everybody thinks will. He flames out, but we don't have to go back down to a 1-15,
Right.
2-14 kind of type of season. He goes down. We're not calling, hey, Jay Cutler, can you come out of the Fox booth and come down and play quarterback down here in South Florida? No. We can throw Baker in there and we can throw Lamar in there. They're both maneuverable enough, even if the offensive line is trash. They can create out of chaos and keep us competitive. And who knows? Maybe that, like Russell Wilson, I banged the table in 2012 for him. I wanted Luke Kuechly with our first pick, and I wanted fucking Russell Wilson in the second. And Seattle got gifted in the third with him.
Yep.
Because when I look at quarterbacks, I know I'm taking a lot of time, but when I look at quarterbacks, I look at a few things: accuracy, poise in the pocket, and how they handle pressure. Are their eyes upfield, or are they running for their life like the fire in the house? Then the next thing is even if they have issues with mechanics or whatnot, do they have the mental toughness where they're you're at college. there's some fine ass hotties running around. Are you partying like fucking Manziel, or are you like what Russell Wilson? He always stayed in his dorm room or the facility, and the dude was like the freaking Catholic nun. He was always in the playbook, in film, looking for tendencies. And when I look at these draft guys, the first one that stands out that does that is Lamar Jackson. He stays in the facility, and when he does anything different, his mom grabs him his ass by the ear and makes him fucking study. And Baker, he doesn't have to be asked; he just does it.
Yep.
So that there's my what I'm looking at is what I'm wanting Derwin James number one because I want the dude that has the speed, the size, the physicality to knock dudes out, and he can still go drop back deep, pick the ball off. And when you combine that with Jones, Jones is lights out as long as he's not in man coverage. Now, having somebody that can go in the man coverage in the slot, how much pressure is that going to take off of Cordrea Tankersley and Xavier Howard? And then we have Bobby McCain. Now, if there's not worried about, like last year, there was 4 or 5 instances where Bobby McCain had to cover 2 guys in the slot. He had to cover Kiko's guy and his own guy. On that pick in the second Jets game that won us the game, gave us the game-winning field goal possession, he covered his guy going to the post and turned him over to TJ in the middle, and he covered the flat where Kiko was still looking at the quarterback's eyes, and he picked the ball off in the flat.
All right. And okay, it is the 11th pick in the first round.
So, are you finna go, Isaiah?
No. Who you taking? 11th pick in the first round.
Well, Isaiah, I remember growing up. My mom always told me, son, when grown folks are talking, don't be in the presence of grown folks. So you guys watch film. You guys break things down. Listen, when I watch college football and when I watch these college players, I watch and see what pops off my TV screen. I can't throw out the numbers. I'm not like you guys. I know you guys do your homework. You guys study film. But when I watch these players, I'm looking at what stand out to me. Baker Mayfield is my number one guy. He's accurate. He's dynamic. I love his attitude. When you look at his TD to interception ratio, it's the best out of all these 4 top quarterbacks. So for me, it's Baker Mayfield, and there's a lot of talk around the NFL circle that the New York Jets are going to get him. There's talk that the Denver Broncos may get him. So if he's not available, I like Tremaine Edmonds. He's a big linebacker. He's athletic, and I know Raekwon Smith is dynamic. I watched him in that Clemson game in a playoff bowl game, and he absolutely blew me away. But he's a little undersized. He doesn't tackle very well. He's not very good in coverage. I'm not sold on Raekwon Smith. I like Edmonds. I think he's a big linebacker, and if those 2 guys are not available, then we got to go Derwin James. I'm not sold on TJ McDonald and the Rashad Jones duo.
No,
I think we kind of paid TJ McDonald too soon.
Yep,
too soon. And so another guy that I really, really like is Josh Rosen. And like I say, I'm not going to get on this podcast and act like I'm Todd McShay and Mel Kiper. I'm not going to act like I know everything. But like I said, when I watch college football, I look at what stands out to me. Who knocks me off my seat when I look at college football? And Josh Rosen, he's the best. He has the best arm talent that I have seen since Peyton Manning, since Andrew Luck. So I love Josh Rosen. I think he's the prototypical quarterback. But my problem is there's some injury concerns. And I really don't know about him. So it's either Baker Mayfield or Josh Rosen. I'm not sold on Lamar Jackson. I think he had a terrible You guys help me out. Pro day. He had a terrible pro day. I watched him in his interview. I don't like. I don't like. It, there's a lot of things that throws me off about Lamar Jackson. You know, I like his athletics. He's very athletic. Um, he doesn't have a strong arm. I just don't see him lasting long in the league. I give him a good 4 to 5 years, but I'm just not sold on Lamar Jackson. So for me, it's Baker Mayfield, and then it's Tremont Edmonds, and then Dorian James, and my who I would love for us to get, but it's probably not going to happen. I would love for us to get Josh Rosen.
All right, so I stepped to the podium, 7th pick in the first round, and my guys, of course, the first guy would be Baker Mayfield. If I can't get Baker Mayfield is gone. Second will be Derwin James. Third would be um, Tremont Edmonds. After Tremont, it would be Jackson. But the guy who I'm really starting to think with the 11th pick we grab is Saquon Barkley. I got the strongest feeling these last 2 days that the Miami Dolphins are going to walk up to the podium with the 11th pick in the first round, and they're going to grab Saquon Barkley. To me,
that'd be a huge mistake.
I just got this. But see, let me tell you why I feel like it's a good thing. All right, let's say the quarterback's gone. Let's say we're not able to get a quarterback. Or all the good quarterbacks are gone in the first round when we step to the podium. The one way that you get the best out of Ryan Tannehill is you run the ball. When you think about 2016 and the turnaround from 1-4, we went 3 games in that turnaround, and Ryan Tannehill only threw 2 touchdowns, and we won all 3 games. One of those games being the Pittsburgh Steelers game where Jay Ajayi went wild. The next game, Jay Ajayi went wild again. And then the next game, he had another strong game. And then defenses started stacking the box to stop him. And you saw, when I think about the strength of Ryan Tannehill, the best throws that I've seen from Ryan Tannehill have come out of the play action. I seen this one play, and it was against the San Diego Chargers. And Ryan Tannehill drops back. He does the play action. He suckers up that secondary, and he just throws a missile to Kenny Stills, and he gets hit in the chest after he makes the throw. But it's the perfect throw between 2 defenders. Beautiful throw from Ryan Tannehill.
And on that play, he sidestepped the blitz and made the guy miss.
Yep.
And it was a fucking perfect rainbow down the middle.
Exactly. So I think the best throws that I've seen from Ryan Tannehill have either been in out of play action or in motion, like when he's on the move, like that throw that he made in 2016 to Marquise Gray down the sideline. Beautiful throw from Ryan Tannehill. So I think if we're gonna stick with Tannehill, the best thing to do would be to get more and more of a rushing attack. And I mean, Saquon Barkley is a good running back. I don't have a problem with Saquon Barkley. I've actually heard people tell me that what is the other guy's name? The guy from Georgia. I forget his name.
Sony Michel and Nick Chubb.
I've heard people tell me that Sony Michel is better than he is. I've had people tell me that Darius Goose is better than he is. But I mean, when I put the tape on of Saquon Barkley, that kid is electric, and all he needs is a small hole, and he's off to the races. Now, can you imagine putting him and Drake in the backfield along with Gore?
I think what you're missing, Isaiah, Ryan Tannehill, we never had a bad rushing attack. People forget that Lamar Miller ran for 1,000 yards back to back. That's why he wanted to get paid with the Miami Dolphins, and the Miami Dolphins wasn't willing to pay him. That's why he went over there to Houston. So it wasn't like Ryan Tannehill in his time with the Miami Dolphins, like he never had 1,000-yard rusher, or we have just been dreadful. So the 2016 season when Jay Ajayi went loose and he broke out, that it all of a sudden just turned Ryan Tannehill's career around. I will agree, it helped him. It helped him, but I think what we had Deion Sims. And I think Deion Sims is a player that we kind of undermined in 2016. What him and Marquise Gray did, I think we had a tight end that helped Ryan Tannehill out as well. We didn't get that tight end production in 2017 from Julius Thomas.
No.
So I understand that Jay Ajayi had this breakout season, but we always had 1,000-yard rusher with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, we never had a bad running game with Ryan Tannehill. Mm-hmm. Lamar Miller ran for 1,000 yards back to back. And even though we didn't have 1,000-yard rusher, even last year, Kenyon Drake did do a great job. I think if we're not getting a quarterback, we have to get a tight end or a safety. To get another running back, I don't really know how much that's going to help us as far as winning. Maybe it will help our offense out a little better because it takes the ball out of Ryan Tannehill's hands. It'll help him with the play action pass. It'll limit his mistakes. But I don't know. I mean, if you're talking about a running back, and I'm not sold on Barkley. When I looked at Todd Gurley, when he played in college, he jumped off my screen. When I seen Ezekiel Elliott over there at Ohio State, I knew coming in the league, this guy was going to be dynamic. He was going to change the franchise. I don't see that with Barkley, in my opinion. I don't know how you guys feel about him. I think he's overrated. I think when you look at Auburn, I don't know. How do you guys feel about him?
About Saquon?
Because I think he's a little overrated.
My only issue with Barkley is he's similar to way when Kenyon Drake came in and how he used to give Adam Gase fits is he tries to jump and doesn't stay on the play script. He'll jump outside instead of taking the 4 yards up the middle.
Right.
And the difference between Lamar and Ajayi, why Ajayi was better than Lamar Lamar Miller, was Ajayi had better balance after contact and during contact.
Yes,
he was more physical. The defense didn't have to commit 8-man boxes to stop Lamar Miller.
Right.
And Houston found that out too. That's why they drafted that big kid from Texas, that Donta Foreman or whatever his freaking name is, to give that power combo to hit. Because Lamar, don't get me wrong, Lamar was an awesome back. He could catch it, he could run it, but he didn't have that balance in contact like Ajayi did. Ajayi put the fear of God in defensive coordinators because you could hit him in the backfield like that Buffalo game on the goal line. He sidestepped defensive tackle Darius, stiff-armed the defensive end, and high-stepped into the end zone, dragging the linebacker. Kenyon can't do that. Lamar Miller couldn't do that. Ajayi could. Now he can't. Now in some of his catches, he was. It's like watching two stone hands trying to grab the ball. But if you're handing it off and you needed 5 gritty yards, Ajayi's your guy.
But you know something, Isaiah and Ronald, the Miami Dolphins was the Philadelphia Eagles in 2016.
They were, but
I'm talking about the running back position. You know how the Philadelphia Eagles, they got Blunt, he's a power back. Then they got Commit, who's kind of like a scat back. He can run, he can catch. Then they had the other guy. What's the other guy? I know they got Commit, they got Blunt, and then they got What's the third back that they have?
They have Corey Clement, number 30.
Uh-huh.
They lost Blunt and they kept
Then they
Ajayi.
had Jay Ajayi. The
And they
Dolphins
have
had
Smallwood and Sproles.
Yep.
right. So the Dolphins could have had a backfield just like that. Jay Ajayi be the power back. Ken Drake, is the fast guy that can burn you and hit the home run. And then they got Damian Williams. So it was a collective group. Because remember, Jay Ajayi really only rushed for 100 yards 4 times in 2016.
Yep.
The reason why his numbers seem so great because in 3 games, he ran for over 200 yards. So you're talking about close to 700 yards in 2 games.
Well, if you remember the early podcast, both me and Isaiah were banging the table from week 1 on for Gase to use both Jay Ajayi and Kenyon Drake in the backfield at the same time. They could play action, fake it to Ajayi in the middle, draw and freeze the linebackers, throw the easy wheel route out into the flat to Drake. Look at that freaking game both games against the Patriots. Kenyon Drake gutted that fucking defense. He gutted it. They couldn't cover him even with freaking corners.
Nope. He roasted that linebacker.
We already had the best backfield combination we could ever had.
I agree.
Had not just 2, we had 3. We had Williams who was catching and getting touchdowns. We had Drake that we didn't even barely use. He got 2 carries in that Buffalo game, and one of them was a 45-yard spin for a touchdown.
Then you had Jay Ajayi.
Yep.
Yeah, so you go ahead, Isaiah.
That's the thing with this coaching staff is if these guys were on different teams, I think they would be getting better utilization than we use them. I don't understand the concept of some Dolphin fans. They don't like Jay Ajayi talking about now Kenyon Drake actually gets to play. But my problem is why wasn't we using both of those guys? People were saying, well, Jay Ajayi, he didn't want to share the carries, but that's a coaching thing. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Coaches are the ones that call and kind of set up packages. I thought Kenyon Drake should have been getting 15 carries a game, even with Jay Ajayi, knowing the situation with Ajayi's knees. He doesn't have to get 30 carries in a game. You can kind of split those carries and put Drake out there and use combinations. Instead, we had Kenyon Drake being the gunner on the punt team for all of those weeks and getting like 1 carry a week, and it's just stupid. That doesn't make any sense, which makes you wonder what's going on with Asiata, what's going on with Carew. You just don't know. So that's why when people call Carew a bust or whatever, I go, okay, so was Kenyon Drake a bust? He was only getting 1 carry a game before Jay Ajayi. You don't know what these guys are capable of. I don't feel like this coaching staff has any idea on how to develop some of these guys and actually use them.
I think if we went running back in the first round,
yep,
the guy I would go for that would actually fit our system and add, because we're lacking toughness if you look at it on paper.
Yes, we are.
We got 5'9" to 5'10" wide receivers, but they're faster than a hiccup.
Yep.
You blink, Steals, Drake, Wilson, Grant. They're gone when you blink.
Right.
You miss your jam with your hand on the press, you're burnt, fam. They're gone. And that's what Grant did on that bubble screen against Kansas City.
Yep.
He made that one inside quick move. He faked it outside with his feet and hips, got the corner to turn and get his hips open to the sideline. And then in 1 second, he was already 5 steps into the inside like it was a slant. He got hit in stride, and he just bounced right off the tackle, and there was no one catching him.
Right.
Well, So when I see that and I look, well, if we, I would be so pissed if we did grab a running back. But if we were to grab one, it would in the first round, it'd have to be Darius Goose from LSU. He runs it freaking hard in the middle. He can catch it. He can pass protect in his blocking schemes, picking up the blitz. He could do it all. But it'd be so hard because I know how this coaching staff works. We already had 4 talented guys: Davion Smith, Jay Ajayi, Kenyon Drake, and Damian freaking Williams, and we send Ajayi in the middle of the season because Gase is pissed off at him. We send him for a bag of Skittles. Then at the end of the year, we send Jarvis Landry for a fucking half-eaten fucking donut and a cold cup of coffee. And I mean, for the first 3 years of Jarvis's career, the fans were at each other's throats because there was a lack of touchdowns, and we thought that since he couldn't score touchdowns, that there was no playmaker in him.
He scored touchdowns, then they complain about the yards.
In one season, with some actual targets in the red zone, he scores us 9 fucking touchdowns.
Yeah.
And if our quarterback wasn't so fucking stupid and inaccurate,
he would have had
Stills should have had 13 touchdowns. Landry should have had 12 to 13 touchdowns. But no, we're game planning for the sloth, Julius Thomas. And I don't know if I can play because I got a sticker in my pussy lip, fucking Parker. And we got guys like Grant. He got one opportunity on Monday night, New England Patriots. The Patriots lined up fucking Malcolm Butler, and he made Malcolm Butler look like a fucking busted 4th-round draft pick.
Yep.
A busted 4th round. He is so quick off the line, and he's using his head fakes and his feet were so damn awesome. Before Butler could even get the press on, Drake was already fucking running by him.
Yep.
And in that game, you look at it, that's when Bill Belichick put Malcolm Butler in the fucking doghouse, because after that, Malcolm Butler's confidence was gone. And it was Drake or Grant. I mean, Grant burnt him. So I didn't think Grant could do it, but he showed us he could do it. And then it makes you wonder what happened to fucking week 1 in San Diego and on through when we're sitting there and we're throwing these fucking bubble screens to fucking Julius Thomas. We're throwing these fucking Fasano passes for fucking 2 yards. We're making Jarvis Landry play tight end to block.
Yep.
You just sit there and you just like me. I talk with Isaiah all the time and be like, "Fuck, what's going on?"
Yep.
That's why I tell people when people bash Jarvis Landry and they say, "Well, he's not a number 1 wide receiver," I want people to be careful because that man had to do a lot. He was in the backfield playing running back. They put him at tight end. They put him at the slot. He had to play kickoff return because remember, there was a time where Jakeem Grant was struggling. He couldn't catch the ball. So Jarvis Landry had to do so much. But the reason why I believe that this team really need a dynamic tight end, and I wouldn't mind us trade after our 11th overall pick, trading back up in the first round just to get a tight end. If there's a tight end that we believe is dynamic and he's a Travis Kelce or the next Gronk, trading back up in the first round. I don't care if we have to get rid of one of those 4th round picks or get rid of 4th and a pick just to move back up in the first round and get us a dynamic tight end, because I do not. Let me tell you something. I like Kenny Stills, but he's a one-trick pony. He's a one-trick pony. If he's not catching the ball deep, he's not a great run after the catch guy. He's not going to catch the ball for 5-10 yards and kill you with his speed, even though he's fast. He's not a player that I want going across the middle taking big hits. The big guy that I feel comfortable with taking big hits is Devontae Parker, because he has the size, he has the speed. When you look at this guy on your TV, he looks like a freak. But at the end of the day, every time he takes a hit, you got to hold your breath because you don't know if he's going to get back up. I mean, let's be honest. You know, you got to pray every time this guy gets hit. And Damian Amendola, he's not a great run after the catch guy. And you know, so I don't believe that we have a game changer at wide receiver. That's the only thing I'm saying. Yeah, we got a bunch of speedy guys that'll burn you. Yes, we got a lot of toys in our playpen that we can play with. But do we have Mr. Reliable? You understand when it's 21-24, it's 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We need that. It's third down and we need 5 yards. You know, so we can stay in the game. Do we got that wide receiver that we can trust? Now, Amendola, I can say what I want to say about him. And, you know, I'm not a big fan, but to me, he probably has the best hands, intermediate. You understand what I'm saying? As far as the intermediate go.
Sure.
But I'm still not sold on Amendola, especially with Ryan Tannehill throwing. Because how many times we seen Jarvis Landry just make crazy catches, one-handed catches, and he had to, even Devontae Parker. You know, I get on Devontae Parker, but how many times we seen that man jump high up in the air because the ball has our quarterback was overthrowing him. So we hard on our wide receivers, but we haven't had great quarterback play. So, you know, I feel like we need a dynamic tight end. And if we got to go back up in that first round and get us that tight end that's gonna do the dirty work, because we don't have a wide receiver on our team to do that. I don't want Devontae Parker running across the middle taking hits. I don't want Kenny Stills running across the middle taking hits. Hell, I don't want Jakeem Grant. Now, Jakeem Grant showed me that he can break tackles, and he showed me a lot in that New England game. And I think it was another game that he broke a tackle and he took it to the house. But I still don't want him doing that. And that's what Jarvis Landry brought. Jarvis Landry brought that, okay, nobody else don't want to do it. I run across the middle. I take that hit. Jarvis Landry's like that little brother, you know, that big brother. You know when the little brother is talking a whole bunch of crap and the little brother, he's talking crap, but he's really afraid. And then the big brother step in, listen, I got you. He's that guy that when a team is dragging along and we seem lifeless, he's the one that bring energy in the stadium. And who is going to be that guy? Normally, it's your quarterback. When you look at the Green Bay Packers, it's normally Aaron Rodgers or it's normally Tom Brady catching fits on the sidelines. And I'm not talking about losing your cool, but we don't have a player like that. Sometimes I don't really like Ryan Tannehill body language. You know, I know he's a tough guy. I know he takes a lot of hit, but who's going to be that guy on the offensive side of the ball that's going to do the dirty work, that's going to be our playmaker? I'm not talking about catching 30, 40-yard bombs. I'm talking about a guy when the game is close. You remember Isaiah, and I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm going to let you guys go. But you remember last year, there were games where it just seemed like Jarvis Landry came up clutch, and we still was losing. I mean, he was catching balls late in games. I remember in that when we played, I think it was the Oakland Raiders. It was one of those games where the game was real close, and he just started making plays. We don't beat New England and in Miami last year without Jarvis Landry, without those 2 touchdowns, without that energy that he brought. When you seen Jakeem Grant score a touchdown, Jarvis Landry running out there, and you know, just everything that he brought, we don't have that now. Who's going to be that alpha dog? Who's going to be that guy, that Ray Lewis, or that guy that galvanized the troops? And that's what I'm worried about. We got a bunch of speedy guys, no playmakers, in my opinion.
There's 2 guys that I think on that could come into this offense and fill that role for us. The first guy is the quarterback out of Oklahoma. That fire, that same thing that we were talking about, whether it was Rodgers or Tom Brady. I think Baker Mayfield steps on that field, and if you watched the film on college, seen that fire, that flair, that almost cockiness that he exudes when he steps on the field. The other guy is a bit surprising because he's been sliding in a bunch of mock drafts, and it's the big tight end, Dallas Goedert. I've been seeing him slide into the 3rd round, which would be an absolute steal for his size and his speed. If we end up with that guy playing tight end along with these wide receivers, our offense would be a very, very big problem. But those are the two guys that was coming to my mind when you were talking like that, about who's gonna be the guy to come up big, whether it's Baker Mayfield or the big tight end, like a Godert or even a Gasecki. I mean, both of those guys, and then the tight end from Wisconsin. I've seen people mock him in the seventh now. So that's why I say I feel like this is a draft. We might walk away with two tight ends.
Isaiah, let me ask you a question. If the Miami Dolphins, okay, they stay at number pick 11, right? And they get whoever, whether it be Baker Mayfield, whoever the guy that they get.
Right.
Then in the second round, there's a tight end that they really, really like. Would you move back up in the first round to get a tight end?
It depends on where
It
we
has to be who it is.
Yeah, it depends on who it is. Because I haven't seen any tight end mocked in the first round so far. I'm not yet to see. I'm lying. I did see Kazeki mocked for the end of the first round. And nobody's talking about Andrews at all either. I haven't heard his name brought up at all.
Well, Andrews is sliding. He's third, fourth round right now on mocks and on projections.
Yeah.
He's being questioned about his health.
Oh.
He has diabetes like Jay Cutler.
Oh no. Okay, so that's why he's sliding.
So they're questioning whether he can handle taking a beating and keep his energy level up with the diabetes.
I seen Herndon jump over him in this last.
He did.
Yeah, Herndon jumped over him.
At the start, Goddard and Gasecki were mocked for the first round,
Right.
but now Goddard is dropping because he wasn't healthy for his pro day and couldn't work out at the combine. And so now they're questioning his durability,
right.
even though he's almost 6'6", he's 256 pounds, and on film he looks as athletic or more athletic than Gasecki.
Right.
So he's sliding, and right now the hot commodity is Gasecki, who everybody's comparing as the next Tony Gonzalez.
Yes, he's got this.
Can't block, but he's got wide receiver route Christmas. He's got change of direction, loose hips.
Yep.
His hands are soft, and he's legit 6'6". That's what he measured at the combine, was a little over 6'6", and he ran that 4.52 or 4.54 at 255 pounds at the combine.
That is a nightmare.
That is fucking wide receiver. Put it in perspective. You add 3 inches and 40 pounds to Devontae Parker and drop his 40 time, and that's Gasecki.
Yeah, that is insane.
Fucking insane. And he got 37.5 vertical.
Yep.
And he's already at 6'6". With defensive end size arms, he's got 33.25 arm length.
I mean,
he can fucking reach around the linebacker, palm the ball, and bring it back to his body.
That's crazy. Could you imagine all that speed on the outside? Then you got that dynamic tight end just eating up the middle, just shredding linebackers and safeties and strong safeties. I mean, you're talking about if we get a dynamic tight end, you're talking about an offense that I believe that could be a top 10 offense.
They put Fumagalli, the Wisconsin guy that Isaiah was talking about. It come out that at the Senior Bowl they only had 9 fingers. So now they're questioning his 4-year stellar production at Wisconsin, blocking, catching, running even. He was even on a couple of jet sweeps. They're saying because he only has 9 fingers now he can't play, so he's like in a late 5th, bottom of the 6th round, top of the 7th round.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I got to step away for a moment.
Okay.
I'm gonna help my wife is getting ready on her podcast. So I want to come back on the night of the draft and react to pick 11 I don't. I think I'm gonna be at work, but what I'm gonna try to do is jump in when the draft happens. Um, maybe slide off to lunch, take me a quick lunch break when we get ready to come up, just so that we can come on and go live. I've never done it from my phone before, but I'm gonna try to do it from my phone that night, just so that we can react to pick 11, and give our thoughts on it. Is that cool with everybody?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep,
All
good
right.
with me.
So I don't. If you guys want to continue, you can. I'll leave.
Nah, bro, you can stop it and we come back Thursday.
All right. All right. So Thursday, everybody, we will come back and we will react to pick 11. We'll share our thoughts as far as what we feel about pick 11. If there's a trade, we'll talk about that as well. And we'll let you know what we think about pick 11. But until then, man, you guys tune in right here, whether you're on Facebook or if you're on YouTube, tune in and we'll talk about pick 11. We're out of here. Peace.